So joining me now on the show this afternoon virtually, it's Jimmy Oko. Jimmy Oko is an economist and a lecturer with Shaka Momodu Polytechnic, who also doubles as the rector, I wanted to say vice chancellor, as the rector of that institution. Good afternoon, Jimmy, and good to have you on the show.
Good afternoon, my dear brother. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all our viewers.
All right, compliment of the season.
Thank you very much. I wish you same.
Okay, so let's walk through the budget estimate, 605.7 billion naira. I would have said, okay, let's walk through the one of 2024, but pretty sure because the government then that presented 2024 was the government under another political party, then this is a government under another political party. But let's really just say the 2024 budget, did it really, meet up to what the people was expecting? Just briefly, before we now delve into the 2025 budget proposal and appropriation bill for 2025.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Budget is a crucial instrument in governance, even in private lives. So we are expecting the one of 2024, where the government has come and gone. Although we are still in 2024, the issue of elections and all of those, or the change of administration may have caused some problems, knowing very well that the issue of continuity has always been a problem. But I think looking at the whole changes, the whole activities that have happened in the year 2024, I think I would say yes, we've actually done the bit. I think the implementation was fair. May not be too good, but I think it was fair. At least where that's the budget 2024, 2023, you agree with me that some parts of those budgets were issues of education and total infrastructure rebuilding. And I think there is effect of that. I think that actually happened to some level. It may not have been up to what we as citizens expected, but I think there's a mark made.
Let's now look into the 2025 budget estimate that is before the State House of Assembly. It has passed through the first reading. It has passed through second reading. I'm aware of that because I watched, I think 2 days ago during the plenary of the House. So definitely before the end of the year, we're going to see it pass through the committee stage, the report stage, the committee of a whole, getting through third reading and sent back again to the governor for his assent in order for them to hit the ground running as the year 2025 begins. Now let's look at the sum in itself. 605 billion 73,065,857 naira 34 kobo. In total, we can say 605.7 billion naira for a state that everyone, have this presumption that it's a civil service state. You don't find industries that much in quote like you find in some other neighboring states, say Lagos and Rivers. So the capital expenditure, according to the governor, is going to go up 162. No, sorry. Let me get that. Okay, capital expenditure, we get 223 billion naira. Why the capital expenditure 381 billion naira, while recurrent expenditure 223 billion naira. Let's focus on the capital expenditure first before we delve into the recurrent. We know that the capital expenditure is the money set aside for infrastructural project, road construction, healthcare, this and that, because the 5-point agenda of the governor, those things are embedded. So let's make sense out of the capital expenditure in itself. Do you think that sum of 63% to the tune of 381 billion naira, as an economist that you are, would be enough for capital expenditure in a state that a lot of persons are complaining there is no road, there is no this, there is no that? Don't you think, or as an economist personally, that that sum seems to be a little bit too small for capital expenditure?
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. I think I want to first appreciate the governor.
Okay.
Fact that he has given a budget. Another thing is that he has demonstrated some courage to make a budget that gave a larger portion to capital expenditure, which is 63% of the budget.
Yeah.
And that has it has not happened like that in a while. In some states in Nigeria, it is almost impossible, according to trends, to have such a budget. Where the size of the capital expenditure, whether too big, too small, I don't really think that is the issue. I think because when we are talking of a budget for just 1 year, so yeah, once there is when so much is allocated to a section in the budget, the issue of monitoring and all of those things become an issue. So what is the strength of the government to monitor a project, capital expenditure, when it is very large? So according to, based on the demand for infrastructural overhaul, road and all of that, we would have no state would not want to call for trillions allocated to capital expenditure, even in the state or local government, as the case may be. But the issue is the ratio of it to the budget is what we are talking about. Don't forget that you are talking about a budget of 605.07 billion. So out of that one, 385, which is almost 400 billion, well above half of the total budget, is taken for capital expenditure. It cannot be said to be too small. Even though in absolute terms, all of us would have wanted, we want trillions of naira to be allocated to capital expenditure, but we are talking about 605.07 billion now. So out of that, if you consider the total sum in the budget, then 385 billion is well enough to face capital expenditure for now. And do not forget, the issue we have in the country is mainly implementation of the budget. If the government is able to live up to expectations, they are able to live up to their words. If the governor decides to match his words with actions, if the governor decides to demonstrate a lot more courage in the area of implementing it, let us see where 381 billion can take us to as regard infrastructural revamp in the country, in the state. So I don't think it is too small, and I want to say that 63% allocated to capital expenditure is quite welcome.
Okay.
Far more than half of the budget is welcome, because the segment of the budget that actually have to do with every citizen, whether the rich or the poor, whether the big or the small, is the capital expenditure, not recurrent.
Okay. All right. So let's now go to the breakdown according to the governor. If you say 63%, which is 381 billion out of the 605, is okay for capital expenditure, as an economist, I will not disagree with you, because I'm pretty sure you've done your calculations and you've seen the here and there. Now, let's now go down to the 5 cardinal points. Number 1 here is agriculture and food sufficiency. 2 is education. 3 is healthcare. 4 is infrastructural development. And number 5 talks about security. In terms of agriculture and food security or sufficiency, as he stated while presenting the budget to the legislative chamber, with the way everybody is shouting and everybody generally in Nigeria is saying there is hunger everywhere. And when you now bring it down to a state like Edo, which people have termed or tagged the civil service state, no industry, even those in the village can hardly go to the farm because of the herdsmen and the farmers clash here and there. What would you prefer to the government of the day for this agriculture and food sufficiency as embedded in one of the cardinal points of the budget?
Well, this is where I have little reservation.
Okay.
In the area of the breakdown, when we talk about the capital expenditure that claimed 381 billion naira part of the budget, I appreciated that as a growth.
Yeah.
But when we enter the breakdown, having 152 for roads, this for that, and a very visible line of that budget as presented by the governor was the fact that he wanted to aggressively chase food security within this fiscal year 2025. But a breakdown of that capital expenditure did not actually show that, because to look at it, agriculture is the only aspect. When we talk about roads, education, health, agriculture, if you look at all those breakdowns, the one for agriculture is a list. Not just list, it's woefully list.
Yeah, 4.5 billion naira.
Yes.
4.5 billion naira.
One would wonder where that line to aggressively chase food security came from, because if you are going to spend only 4.5 billion naira on agriculture out of 605.07 billion, it means that food security is not actually the leading thing. I think that line or that budget did not match the figure that was eventually allocated to agricultural sector. I would have expected something a bit more than 4.5 billion, because for you to do food security, I understand that when the roads are well responded to, that agriculture would tend to do better. I understand that when security gets the attention that the budget stipulates, that agriculture will do better. But outside that, the government, what we are facing in Nigeria, in Edo State, the government needs to realize that there is need for aggressive matching into agricultural sector, into mechanization of farms in the state. So I would have expected that the three senatorial districts, all of that. No, even as we go into the year 2025, the fiscal year that actually owns the budget, I would expect, the full breakdown, how the governor is going to do all of these things is not out yet. I would expect that the governor would tackle the issue of agriculture by way of plenty mechanized farming.
All right, Jimmy, I have to pause you there a bit. We need to go on a short break for the headline news. You're trying to make a point, but after we're back from the break, you continue with your point. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back. Still moving on the show, trying to make sense out of the 2025 Budget and Appropriation Bill for Edo State, presented by the governor of the state on Tuesday, Senator Monday Okpebholo. And I still have my guest joining me virtually, Jimmy Oko. Jimmy Oko is a lecturer, an economist, and also the current rector of the Shaka Momodu Polytechnic in Edo State. So, Jimmy, you were making a point about agriculture and food security before we went on the short break. So you can actually continue with your point.
All right. Thank you very much, my brother. Yes, we're saying that the figure, if you read through the budget as the governor presented it the other day, you'll see that one very visible line was the fact that the governor promised to aggressively go for food security. And food security will only be achieved through agriculture. And going through the breakdown of the capital expenditure, we could only see 4.5 billion allocated to agricultural sector. That means that if the governor really wants to fight for food security and within the fiscal year, he is going to be faced with insufficiency of funds in that sector. So it means that the governor, in making the budget, would have tried to allocate far more to that agricultural sector. 4.5 billion is way too small. What we expect in the state right now is that the state government take the leading role in mechanizing the agricultural sector, trying to not just subsistence, but in a commercial manner. That that means that in the three senatorial districts, in every local government, every community, the presence of the state government should be well felt in the area of mechanized farming. So we have we have opportunity. We have free lands everywhere in all across the three senatorial districts. All of these are waiting for government. It will be wrong if in the 2025 fiscal year the state government is able to have to represent itself across the three senatorial districts, having large farmland in mechanized manner, and that would only being at the leading role now, it will only motivate the citizens to follow the same even to follow the same route. If the state government, if the government now cannot take the leading role in agriculture, we will never progress in it. So I would have expected more than 4.5 billion, but since it is there, we can only see what the government can do, or maybe before the final passage, members of the assembly will be able to spot that out. But if they don't, we can only wait to see what the governor will be able to do with 4.5 billion in the area of agriculture. But for other areas, I think for road, that 162 billion is quite good, because we understand that the roads have been the issue. I guess the governor understands that. All his promises, pre and post elections, he has been talking about road, and he has even gone ahead to quickly to start the project, flyover, big flyover stuff, another man, and so many others that he wants to do. I think 162 billion naira is a demonstration of that readiness. It actually shows that he is ready to face road rehabilitation, road reconstruction across the state. I would advise that is done properly. I also understand that if you look at the breakdown, education taking the torch after road infrastructure, we have health. We took 63 point something billion, and we have 48 billion for education. So demonstrate that he is actually ready for that. He also declared that he's going to be sending 500 million naira monthly subvention to the state-owned Ambrose Ali University that has had plenty of problems, financial crisis for the past few years. Since for many years, Ambrose Ali University, which are all state-owned state universities, has not settled for many years. So I think what he meant on ground was about, I think, whether less than 50 million or so, I can't remember. But for him to say that he's going to be sending 500 million subvention every month, I think it's a demonstration of readiness, and that is why it justifies why he has allocated 48 billion naira to education sector. And that means that the state government will be able to actually revive the education sector. And I think the basic education has received a good touch. I would advise that I hope the governor knows that more of this fund that is allocated to the education sector should go towards more of it should go towards tertiary education, and to help the quality of our graduates and help the quality of researches that are coming out from this because the quality of research that come out from these higher institutions will also help us to revitalize the whole economy of the state. The healthcare is good, like that 63.9 billion. if well spent, will be able to help. I think what he has said, what the governor has also said, that he wants to bring health care service delivery to the doorstep of those who are vulnerable, those who are not able to, the poorest of the poor. We want them to have access to health care services. And I think with this, we'll be able to do so if well used.
Okay. Now, let's look at management of these funds, because these funds are going to pass through various ministries, departments, and agencies or parastatals of government. We've talked about, you've touched the breakdowns from agriculture down to education, to healthcare, to infrastructure. Now, let's look at the management, because you find a situation whereby after some of these funds has been appropriated for so and so ministry, it gets down to the ministry, because most of the ministry right now, as you and I know, they don't have commissioners. They have permanent secretaries and directors that are running them. So, talking about the management of this fund, do you think that this fund should be channeled into the hands of the heads of the agencies? When I say agencies, I mean the ministries right now, via the commissioners or the permanent secretaries, or there should be some sort of person somewhere who should be different from these ministries that are managing the disbursement of these funds? Because most of the times you see these funds being released, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really get to it should not get to the end users, which are the citizens of the state. Because if at the end of the day the citizens does not feel the impact, whether indigents by Edo or residents in Edo, it makes no sense to the average or the common man living in the state.
Thank you very much. Well, if this budget is not well implemented for the benefit of the people in Edo State, then the governor would have failed.
Okay.
The governor would have failed, because as it is in government, it is not true that as some people may say, it's not true that 605.7 billion is going to be brought out there and start share to different people to start. So the money is not going to the hand of a commissioner, anybody. No.
Okay.
The thing is, all of these ministries, the governor has written to them to submit their own proposals. So with their proposals, there is going to be alignment, align them into all the proposals that are coming from different agencies, from different ministries, all of them, even all of these roads that we are talking about. The ministry that we hardly works is going to submit a proposal to the governor to say the roads we want to do in 2025. And the governor will say, all of these roads, make sure they are evenly distributed across social areas. They will do so. And the governor again will say, this road cost all of them how much? If it becomes 170 billion, he will say, no, the budget has only allocated 162 billion naira to it. And it should be reduced to that point. It means that at every point in time, when what the ministry is doing now is to submit their own so that they can go to the field and do the work. They are doing the work, and the governor will now approve the payment to the contractor. So when the governor is approving payment to contractor, it's not passing through the commissioner or the ministry. The ministry will only bring their proposal so that they can do the work, so that they would go and do more than what the governor said we have the force to pay.
Okay.
So that is why we say we will not blame commissioner, we will not blame anything, because the money is not going to be given to them to work. All the agencies and all of that, they only submit to the government. This is what we want to do. And the governor says, according to the budget I submitted to the assembly, this is what I have allocated to do. So don't do more than this. This is what you are going to do. So by the time they do so, it is still the governor who will sign the check and say, contractor, take so and so money. If the governor, if any 1 naira out of this budget ends up missing or not well spent, then the governor would have failed. Another thing I wish to say is that, when we make laws in Nigeria, people just treat them as whatever thing, something at their own mercy or something. But I want to say something that takes people to prison in Nigeria. People are sentenced to death, this, all of that, is set prison terms because they violated the constitution. It is also important that politicians in those states, those who are around the governor, they must know that the budget of 605.07 billion that has been made for 2025 fiscal year, once finally passed by the assembly, once assented to by the governor, would have become a law.
Okay.
And everybody, 1 naira, a kobo out of it.
Yeah.
That 34 kobo in it, one
Yes.
kobo missing from it is called deviation from the law. It
Okay.
is a breach of the law, and somebody can be sentenced
To
to
jail for
prison
that.
for that. So
Okay.
anything we are dealing with figures now, the unit, the smallest unit of this whole money that has been appropriated must be well used, must be used according to how the government is. After the government will complete it, like if the government continues, and if his administration continues and not stops, then 4 years at most, or if re-elected, 8 years at most. After the tenure of Senator Monday Okpebholo as governor of Edo State, people will still have access to the 2025 appropriation bill that he has just submitted. I will start to look at what he has done, what he did not do. Anything that he did not do that time, anybody can take him up on it. Senator Monday Okpebholo represents the budget he just presented.
Okay.
So it is not going to be commissioner, it's not going to be anything. So
Okay.
himself needs to surround himself with persons who he trusts can actually do the work.
Okay. All right. A lot has really been said on this budget because we're pressed for time right now. But will we continue tracking it? It's still within the legislative chambers of the House of Assembly. They are doing their work. It has been sent to the committees. The committees will do their job. They will report back to the House, and we'll see. We'll just keep tracking, following it, and making sense out of it as it begins to unfold. I really want to thank you for your time and your insight on the program this afternoon, for joining us to give your thoughts on the program. So as we continue to look at the budget, as we continue to unfold, definitely we'll have more time to always talk about it. Thank you very much, Jimmy Oko, for joining me on the show this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's the size of our package on the show here this beautiful Friday afternoon. We've made sense out of the budget, try to track and see how the budget will affect the life of every citizen, whether indigents or non-indigent. As far as you reside in Edo, the budget have to make sense in your life as a resident in the state. That's how far we can go on the show this afternoon. On behalf of my entire team, we appreciate you and thank you for joining us. I'm Lawrence Osifo saying see you again. Bye for now.